For the last 2 billion years, there have been just two sexes. And then suddenly, within the last 10 years or so, a whole lot more started to get invented. Yes, well, lots of other people will be talking about this. I am a biologist, I'm an evolutionary biologist, and every single paper that you read about animal behavior, evolutionary biology, evolutionary psychology, in the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom simply takes the two sexes for granted. And by the way, so do all the biologists who allegedly believe that there's a spectrum of sexes. When they actually do their biology, when they actually do their research, of course they simply talk about males and females, they know what the difference is. It's not that difficult. And so, yes, the second part of my essay is an account of this. It talks about the biological criterion for sex differences, which is anisogamy, the difference between large macrogametes over eggs and small microgametes, which is universal throughout the animal and plant kingdoms. The only exceptions are in fungi and some algae. And there's good mathematical modeling to explain why anisogamy is stable, why anisogamy is favored by natural selection. Isogamy, the equal sexes, equal gametes, where you have two equal-sized gametes, does exist in a few things like algae and fungi, and there are good mathematical models showing how this is unstable, and you get a runaway selection towards anisogamy, where you have this large gametes and small gametes. That's the definition, the biological definition of sex differences. In practice, sex differences are determined in various different ways in different parts of the animal kingdom, like chromosomes in some places, chromosomes in mammals, chromosomes in birds, the opposite way around. In birds and Lepidoptera, it's the male which is the heterogametic sex. In mammals and many other animals, it's the other way around. In birds and Lepidoptera, it's the females, in mammals, it's the male. In some reptiles, it's done by temperature, so that's very variable, but the fundamental sex divide, the fundamental binary is this anisogamy, the difference between the large gametes and small gametes. That is universal, there are no exceptions to that, there are no intermediates.
You'd think that wouldn't be controversial, but of course it is. And I'm going to talk to Alice in a second about some of the ways that manifests itself in the academic community. But once again, just to give an example of how it's permeated diversely, many different fields. One of the authors is not here, Elizabeth Weiss, had a panel at the American Anthropological Society talking about the sex of skeletons, of ancient skeletons, which is a kind of important thing to know if you're trying to do anthropology of societies and you uncover skeletons. But the American Anthropological Society said again that determining sex of skeletons causes harm, and they removed the article. They removed the whole session from their meeting because the idea that you could determine the sex of skeletons was something that was A, doable, and B, a good thing. I mean, it's just amazing. But what Alice has written and actively done a lot for in this country, and she's working very hard on your behalf, what the article you wrote is about sex, gender identity, and particularly the suppression of discussing it, even stating something which you've said, or just having that conversation, much less making the claim. And so I wanted you to elaborate on the kind of things that are going on to suppress discussion, just simple discussion of that. And then maybe you might want to mention the very important government-sponsored commission report that you wrote on just that subject.